So last week I booked a 30K client for a marriage coach without using any sales calls whatsoever. I didn't talk to this prospect whatsoever. All I did was share a bunch of one-to-one email conversations back and forth. And I was able to close her on this marriage coach's offer within took a little bit of while just because she had to talk to her spouse about it. So it did take a few weeks, but I wanted to walk you through just as an example of how I'm able to do this for coaches and companies, converting their high ticket prospects into clients and doing it all via email. So no sales calls whatsoever. And this was kind of the classic case that I come up against time and time again in that when I first introduced myself to this marriage coach, he was highly skeptical that I was going to be able to do anything. Like, great, you're going to have an email conversation. You're going to be able to close people for this high amount. So for his offers, it's anywhere from 14K to 30K to even above 50K in terms of his offering. And I'll get a little bit more detail on who he helps and what the offer includes. But it is very high ticket in terms of the outlay that people have to put out there for his services. And he's very well known within the marriage industry as it is altogether. So I'm going to walk you through, instead of creating a big long video that goes through all the different details of how I was able to close this person all via email. I'm going to break it down kind of day by day this week. And today I'm going to start with before you can actually convert somebody an offer, you have to kind of stop them in their tracks, catch their attention, and get them engaged in the conversation. So I'm going to walk you through kind of my first, in the video today, walk you through the hook, how I came up with the hook that really attracted this prospect and got her into that conversation enough that she was motivated to go back and forth with me via email, share a little bit more about her story, and eventually get to the point where I put the offer in front of her, handled all the objections or questions that she had, and got to the point where we asked for payment at the very end. So I'm going to walk you through each of those stages as the week goes along, especially some of those objections, the questions. So especially if you're a coach selling your high ticket program, you get better idea of somebody that's doing these type of high ticket sales on a day by day basis, how I approach it, maybe can improve your conversions. And especially if there is an opportunity, again, I'll talk through a little bit more about my process. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to partner up and get you more of those high ticket clients into your program without you having to lift a finger whatsoever. So this is the first time joining one of my lives. I'm Brian Czekanski, and I help coaches in particular 10x their high ticket sales. Again, really with a process that doesn't involve any sales calls whatsoever. And again, go back to that. Anytime I tell a coach that or a company that, they're like, yeah, right. Like, you don't jump on any sales calls whatsoever. You don't talk to them at all. Like, there's no way that works. And I come back to them and I've got to make it really easy in my process and saying like, yeah, I get it. Like, nobody has put this offer in front of you. Nobody has talked about this type of process before. There's not many people. There's probably about 30 people in the broader industry that are using this same process that I am. So I get it. Like, you haven't seen this offer. You haven't seen the success right now. But I'm going to prove it to you. I'm not going to ask for any money up front from you. I'm going to take on all this risk for the right people, for the right coaches, with the right program and the right offering. In this case, a marriage coach. And I'm going to take all the risk, and we're going to run a test, and I'm going to prove to you that I can hand you high ticket coaching clients on a silver platter. It doesn't matter what your offering is. It could be anywhere from 10K to 30K to 50K. It's altogether possible with the right process and walking people through a sales process all via email. So like, not even jumping on a Zoom call, not jumping on a phone call whatsoever. We can do it all via email through my process. So today we're going to focus on the hook. I'm going to give a little bit more detail on, like who is this coach? Is he just a magician, or is there something behind it? First part is, like, with any high ticket coaching program, especially with this marriage coach, you have to be really specific in the audience that you're going after. So for this marriage coach, he's kind of that last ditch solution for people that are going through relationship struggles. In this case, the prospect was kind of going through a situation where her husband was moved on to a different relationship. So has a mistress, has moved on, and she's still trying to fight for her marriage and get him back into their home and kind of improve the relationship along the way. And this marriage coach actually flies out to whatever location they're at. So, where like if they're on the East Coast, he flies out internationally as well and spends a full day with those, two people in that couple and gives them a roadmap of, especially that person that is looking to revive that marriage. Okay, here's the roadmap on potentially saving this. How to, giving you a little bit more insight into like what's going on with your other spouse. Is this something that is savable, or is it something that you want to move on? And I'm going to give you the tips on how to not go through the same mistakes that you're having with your relationship. But by and large, people are having them fly out and do this kind of in-person day to save their marriage and give them the insights that they need to improve their relationship kind of step by step. And he's got a long list of testimonials. That's kind of what led me to reach out to him. Is he's got a long list of testimonials of people that like, again, by and large, their marriage should be over. They should be divorced. They should have moved on to something else. He was able to come in, show them a process, get that insights from that other spouse, like whatever you want to call it. I called it a checked out spouse, and brought them into the fold and showed them the step-by-step way of doing it. And another part of his process is thinking about like, it doesn't take two people to improve a relationship. You only need that one motivated person. So again, he's got a process where one person can improve that relationship, can bring that person back into the fold. And again, that was a big part of my hook to kind of catch this prospect's attention, to kind of stop her in the tracks. Like, okay, like I've got a long list of testimonials of people just like you, just sitting in your situation where all hope seems to be lost. Like your spouse has moved on to a different relationship, maybe has introduced that relationship to their family, and all indications are that the divorce is coming and that person has already moved on. Well, we can kind of change that. We can change the trajectory of that. We can change how your spouse is thinking, get that person back into the fold. So again, one trouble that I had for me. So as we get into the specific hook and how to catch your audience's attention is, don't ever start from zero. The good thing is, like, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of how unique you think your offer is, there's other people that have tested and researched, and they've got other offers out there that are working right now. So don't start from scratch. Don't just put something out there and hope that it works. Get some clues from everybody else. Like, success leaves clues, and this is what I did. Again, I didn't necessarily have marriage coaches that were doing the same exact thing that he was. He's got a very specific niche. But what I could do is go back to the relationship space and find some examples of coaches that I've worked with, other examples that I know are out there that are working, as an idea for, okay, what hook can I use? What can I potentially leverage as ingredients to get the right hook in front of people? So again, use your competitors as kind of the starting point of like, okay, like, if they're running Facebook ads, if they're running a sales page and it's working, if they're if they've been running it for 5 or 6 or 10 years now, okay, there's something there. We want to start with what's working with them and how can we build upon that? How can we add some uniqueness? In this case, of building some uniqueness and talking to the specific audience that he really focused on and getting them to the point that they want to along the way. So like the one challenge that I have is, especially with marriages and talking about love is very intangible. So with high ticket programs, as much as possible, I want a super tangible thing that if they're spending 30K for or 50K for, like, what's the return on investment? Something super tangible that they can, make it easy. Like, yeah, I got my money back 4 times, 10 times, whatever it is, super, super tangible. So like, that was the one challenge for me is thinking about like, okay, like, what's the one thing that I can point to make the return on investment just like a no-brainer? And I'll talk about that a little bit later in the week especially in terms of the objection. Of course, I got the objection of, in this case, it was a Canadian prospect who was, in her local currency, was spending over 40K in Canadian dollars. So imagine spending 40K for somebody to come out and spend, a day and a half with you. Probably like he's probably going to spend 9 or 11, like somewhere between 9 and 11 hours with this couple, and spending 40K on that in your local currency is a big amount of money. So obviously there was some objections around the cost and is it worth it and things like that. So I'll cover that a little bit later on in the week and how I address that, and was able to get her head around that and get her really comfortable and excited about working with this coach along the way. So if I just go back to the hooks that I did some research on, really helpful to kind of go through. So the one thing is I'm a former copywriter, so I worked with a relationship coach. Uh, I worked with a relationship coach probably go back to 2019. So this was the sales page that we put out there. It was for a course. You can see the headline here, how to make him love you back and commit long-term without ever lifting a finger. So I knew the mechanism, again, kind of like teasing out a mechanism or putting out a specific mechanism was going to be important. But again, I kind of used some research that I've done, again, with this sales page or VSL that I put together, but also looking at other sales pages in terms of like, how do they take that love angle? And how do I, kind of capture their attention? What's the promise that I could put out there that's a little bit more tangible? Like, obviously, love is not something that I can make 100% tangible, but I can make it a lot more tangible in their mind about what they're paying for and what their return on investment is going to be. So again, I started with this and kind of going through in terms of like, what is the mechanism, but also what is that promise at the very top there in terms of this. Like, this is a little bit different market. This was a relationship coach that was helping people, mainly women that had found their, in their mind, the man of their dreams, but their man of their dreams had kind of given up interest. So you can see a little bit down here, but there's just one problem. It's one big problem. You're starting to think it's all one-sided. His time and his attention are fading by the minute, and everything you do seems to make it worse. So again, even though it's not the exact same audience, it's a very similar audience to the marriage coach that I'm dealing with, in that, it's not somebody they're dating, it's their spouse that is kind of their attention and their focus and their love is kind of pointing somewhere else. And we want to be able to grab that back and to put out, again, tailor that to the mechanism. I'll talk about the mechanism a little bit more tomorrow, but like, how can I put something, what's different, what's missing from everything else that they've tried, a specific mechanism that this coach focuses on. And that was kind of a very key in terms of converting this prospect, is putting out something different to say like, okay, like this coach will come out, he'll be able to, use this mechanism and kind of change around in your husband's mind in terms of like his love and attention, and kind of flip the switch there a little bit in terms of like what is going on. So his time and attention right now is elsewhere. We're going to be able to, through his process and him showing up on that day and him giving the insights that she needs, he's going to be able to reconcile that and get his attention a little bit more focused. It's not going to happen overnight, but he can give her a process over the next few days, weeks, months to finally get that marriage reconciled and get to the point where they can potentially save that. And again, think about over time, again, thinking about like, okay, like here's the specific steps, here's the information that you need. You have clarity on what's going on along the way. And then I took a look at some other ones as well. So like, again, there's a bunch of relationship sales pages on ClickBank in particular that have done really well. So like, this is another one, again, a little bit more focused on the women. So I did look at some of the other audiences as well. So like, this marriage coach does help men and women. So looked at some of those other sales pages in terms of that, but a lot of the examples I'll show you today, a little bit more focused on the women. But again, it's kind of that angle of like, something he craves more than money, more than love, and even more than sex. Again, talking about kind of that secret obsession. So that secret obsession is kind of that big idea. How can I potentially use that as a launching pad for my hook in terms of like, okay, how can we reignite his obsession, his desire, all those kind of things. Those are the more tangible things that we could talk about instead of kind of getting into the more intangible things like love. And so dimensionalizing the offer was really important in terms of putting that out there. And then I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see just a couple of other examples of what we're doing. There's a state of desire more powerful than love. Would you like to unlock the hidden desire inside any man's mind? So again, all these things, a couple other examples. Again, Michael Fiore has a couple great sales pages. Again, used them as an example, use them as a launching point for what I was trying to do. So I would encourage you to do the same. Again, if you're a coach selling a high ticket program, if you're helping coaches sell high ticket programs, you have the key thing there. So like the thing is, you can't sell your high ticket program until you've caught the attention of your prospects, kind of stop them in their tracks. You can see on their Facebook feed every day, like there's a ton of different offers out there. It's like the first thing we have to do is kind of stop them in their tracks and get them motivated and kind of build that desire or build that belief that like, okay, like this is something different. This is, like something I've been missing with all the other things that I've been dealing with. Deal with a lot of weight loss coaches as well. So like deal with a lot of audiences that have tried a lot of different things and nothing has worked. How can we put something out there that talks about something new or goes against conventional wisdom or promises a faster, easier result in less time? All those kind of things are really important to, again, we're not going to sell our offer in one email, but I just want to start the conversation. I want to catch their attention enough that they're willing to respond to that email, give them a little bit more information about them. So again, in the same way that you jump on a sales call, I'm doing all those same fundamentals that you would use there. I'm asking a little bit more about their story, what's going on in their marriage in this case, what's at stake here. So like if their marriage doesn't survive, like who else is going to be affected? So what other external factors might be impacted? Do they have kids? Do they have a shared house? Do they have a business together? All those kind of things are really important to get to kind of behind like those emotional drivers. And once I fully understand that stuff, just like in a sales call, only then do I kind of put a personalized offer in front of them in terms of that. But the great part about my process is I don't have this stacked calendar of, okay, at the end of 20 minutes, I have to get them to a yes or no. I can really take my time in terms of responding back and forth, kind of breaking up the parts of that sales call that are really important and really take my time. So again, working with some of these, the client that I worked with right now, it took 2 or 3 weeks to go through some of these prospects back and forth, especially again, because there is a spouse involved, especially with this prospect, I had to get the spouse on board. So I had to give her a word for word script in terms of like, how does she pitch this to her spouse to actually show up? In terms of that, like obviously the spouse doesn't want to save their marriage because he's already in this other relationship that he really feels good about. So what's that pitch to get him to show up, to be excited to show up? That was really important in terms of getting over some of those objections and getting over some of the beliefs that, okay, this guy can fly out and he can potentially save our marriage and have that other spouse who's checked out actually show up, participate, and actually be happy to kind of spend that time with them. So again, I'll kind of cover that a little bit later in the week in terms of that key objection that became really important in terms of like, what's the one key belief that your audience needs even before you put the offer in front of them, before they will actually consider it. Sometimes you don't really know, but as I went through this process and talked to a lot of different prospects via email, probably talked to like literally thousands of people that responded to that first email and had sales conversations with them, got really great insight into, okay, like what's holding them back from potentially this marriage coach flying out. And that was one of the key things is, okay, like I don't even think my spouse is going to show up. Like there's no way 100% that person is not going to show up. Some instances like the checked out spouse was, okay, if you ever contact me again, I'm gonna go to court and like again kind of threatening in that way. So like had to provide different ways to communicate with that person to get them involved and to get them to show up, and I'll cover that a little bit later in the week in terms of that objection. But really important to figure out like what are some of those beliefs that your high ticket customers need to have even before you put that personalized offer in front of them to spend, again, 10, 30, 50K and be happy to show up and to know that the return on investment is going to come back to them multiple and many times along the way. So again, starting with the hook, we got to catch their attention. We got to get them motivated. We got to let them know why this is different. Do your research in terms of, and this is exactly what I did for this offer, did my research in terms of like what was working in the broader relationship space, got some clues about what was going out there. This was just my best guess to what the best hook was. Again, as I put out more emails to the same audience, and as I learn more about this audience and having sales conversations with them, I'm going to get closer and closer to that specific hook that really resonates and drives a lot of volume in terms of those high ticket customers coming through. But really happy in terms of like this first initial email and going out and having those conversations. Like it wasn't far off. Like again, I had a person spend in their local currency 40K in terms of this person flying out and helping them with their potential marriage. So again, a lot of learnings that I'll go through a little bit more in the week, but think about, especially as you're putting that initial hook out there, success leaves clues. Some of your competitors out there are putting out things. It might not be the exact same audience. It might not be the exact same offer, but think about and take a look at how you can reduce the risk, especially as you're putting out new ads and new sales letters and new campaigns. What is working for everybody else? And how can I potentially cherry pick some of those things, not copy them word for word, but kind of put them into your own words, uh, direct them to your specific audience and kind of cater them to your specific offer along the way. And that's going to greatly improve your chances of having success on that first campaign. And then again, as I'm having email conversations back and forth with these people, I'm picking up the exact words and phrases and again, some of those beliefs that really came out to make these additional emails that I send out. They're only going to be more and more successful because I'm getting closer and closer to what the audience is really thinking about, what beliefs they have to have, and what really motivates them to actually plunk down, again, 14 or 30 or 50K for this marriage coach to come out there. So hope this was helpful, kind of just as a starting point. Again, on the next few days, I'm going to go into, again, some of the questions and objections that I had to cover to land this 30K USD offer for this marriage coach. So I think that'll be really helpful. And actually getting through the point, and I'll share a little bit more about my process in terms of, again, if you're a coach out there that has a high ticket program, I certainly can partner up with you. And if you have a large enough list and you have large enough, growth in that list month over month, it might make sense for us to have a conversation to figure out, because again, I don't charge anything up front. I only get paid when you get paid first. So it makes really, I put it out there just as a test. In this case, it was just a first time test to see if it worked. Obviously, landing a 30K client in a matter of weeks is a result of a very good test. So we're going to do some further testing over the next few weeks to hopefully get a bunch more of those high ticket clients. So something that I can easily do for you if you're a marriage coach or any other coach in the various different industries. So hit the like button on whatever platform you're on. Check out the live videos that I'll do around the same time every day going forward. If you're watching on the replay, catch up on part 2, part 3 along the way as I dig into some of those other areas of the sales conversation, hopefully helping you sell more of your high ticket programs along the way. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Always coming out with content around high ticket sales and selling more of your coaching programs every single day. And with that, I'll see you on a future live.